And all right, we are live on Austin, Texas Musicians Facebook page to talk a little bit about understanding some of the changes, the good changes coming in unemployment this year in 2021. And we have once again a very distinguished panel with us. But real quick, I'm Pat Bukta. I'm the executive director of Austin, Texas Musicians. And like I said, we want to learn about some of these big changes coming in unemployment and how they affect all of our musicians in the community. So today we're going to be discussing the 2021 extensions on unemployment claim benefits for gig workers, independent contractors, and sole proprietors. And we're going to be addressing a lot of frequently asked questions in regards to those benefits. Going around the room, we have Congressman Lloyd Doggett joining us once again today, our good friend who's helped us so much in the last year, as well as Velissa Chapa. I can't sing her praises enough and how much she's helped. Velissa is the legal counsel to Commissioner Aaron Dimerson with the Texas Workforce Commission. And of course, Scott Strickland, the team lead for our ATX and Votes team. And let's just kind of get right into it with Congressman Doggett. Before we start talking about unemployment, I would feel very remiss if we didn't take a moment to talk about some of the things that have been at play at the Capitol last week. And I always like to say that Austin, Texas Musicians is a nonprofit nonpartisan organization. We're never going to tell people how to vote, but what happened last week goes far beyond the bounds of sanity and democracy. And, we just really want to take a moment to check in with you, talk about what happened, and really, just start off maybe, there will be a few questions, but let's talk about what happened last week from your perspective.
Well, I am pleased to join you again. I've been kind of a regular on this program, although I'm not sure there's anything regular about any aspect of this year, and certainly not of the last couple of weeks. Pat, what happened last week is an American tragedy. It's really a sad event, whatever your political perspective might be. Who would have ever thought we could possibly come to this, where there is essentially an attempt to overthrow the government, inspired by the president of that government, asking his people to come to Washington. And now we know with the latest reports, some came with the intent of apprehending, kidnapping, assassinating officials, perhaps even including the vice president of the United States, about as ardent a Republican as you're going to find. They had outside the Capitol a ceremonial noose for him. And when you watch this video, as I know so many of your listeners have probably seen, of a police officer being crushed against the door of the Capitol, when you see another police officer who died having been hit on the head with a fire extinguisher, where our American flag is being used as a battering ram against another person. I have never imagined that anything like this could happen. I personally, Pat, was very fortunate. They were limiting the number of people on the floor, at least on the Democratic side, because of COVID, to a small number, trying to keep it to less than a dozen, and having the people on the floor mostly who were in states whose vote was being challenged. And so I was back here in my office where I am right now, and I'm looking out as we speak at the United States Capitol, a little gray today, but beautiful as always. And I'm here working that afternoon, and I look out the window here and I see police officers racing around this building right in front of me, and getting up to look out the other side on the west front of the Capitol, a mass of people with Trump banners. This is the area where the Capitol is set up for the inauguration of reflecting on a happier time when Barack Obama was inaugurated. The main obstacle I had was Aretha Franklin's hat, which was right in front of me, which is now in the Smithsonian. But a happy time as the great soul belted out a great national anthem there. But it's all set up, and they're big, not unlike at ACL, though a little higher. They're scaffolding for the video and everything. And then suddenly these people were scaling the scaffolding and hoisting their banners and the like, and you could see them surge against the police. And then, one siren and everything at the other end of the Capitol, which I could see, not with this full of view. And I know I was back in the Capitol, of course, that night, from talking to colleagues. There were some who were calling their loved ones as if it were their last message, having people bang on the door, guns pulled, a woman killed by a police officer in the area where I walk in usually each day to vote. And so just a horrifying experience that we've been through. The Capitol has had some damage, but those scars will be corrected. But when you think about the worldwide image of the United States as a citadel of democracy, what a problem we have. Decades hence, our enemies around in other parts of the world will be talking about the chaos that is the product of democracy, rather than noting that very night we were back working until after 3 in the morning to ensure we finished the count of the vote, that Vice President Pence could announce it, and that our democracy would survive.
I don't often get religious in these shows, but God bless you, Congressman, and everyone else.
Well, God did bless me that day, and blessed really our country that there was no more. I think we're counting about 5 people that were killed that day, most of them being Trump protesters, and it's just such a loss. But I've been blessed, and our country is blessed that our democracy did survive the tyranny and the challenge.
Congressman, now in the days hence, one question that I see coming up so often within our music community is that we still have conversations with people, even loved ones, family members, who maybe downplay what happened, or they even place the blame somewhere else, or they aren't willing to accept the facts around how tragic and how devastating this attempted coup was. And I guess if I wanted to ask you anything right now, it's, how do we begin to respond to these people? Because, I think it's so easy for us to say, well, I'm never going to talk to that person again. But that's not really the solution. These are family members, these are loved ones and friends, and we have to figure out a way forward with these people. So how do we begin to kind of bring these people back to a level of logic where we can have conversations about these?
It is really difficult. I sent out a mass mailing of my remarks at the impeachment to people throughout Central Texas and South Central and San Antonio, and got back many responses. But I also got back a few threats and comments that suggested that they didn't want to hear me. I guess my feeling is, as in any conflict, that you begin by trying to find any kind of common ground, such as our love of country, such as our respect for police officers who were doing their job that day, and one of whom lost his life, another committed suicide after this, and many were seriously injured. And while we've had all of the well-justified concern about police this year and justice and Black Lives Matter and the like, all of us know that the alternative to having responsible police is chaos. And that's what we saw that day. And so I think we begin talking about that, and then that we ought to all be able to agree that violent overthrow of the government is not the American way.
Thank you.
And so people may disagree about how much responsibility the president had for this. I think it's pretty obvious, but I understand those that have been following him and are loyal adherents are not going to change their mind. So I'm not sure, Pat, that's a very complete answer, but I would say you're asking the right question, because to go forward in our country, we have to begin to find some common ground again. I think it will help that Trump is not tweeting out lies every day. But he's still going to be a force out there. And these extremist groups, some of which we thought had gone away, the very thought that I found of all the things that happened that day, I found among the, if not the most despicable, was this fellow from Virginia in a Camp Auschwitz t-shirt, belittling or questioning. And I've been to Auschwitz and know the horror that would have occurred there, belittling that. So it's racist, it's anti-Semitic, it's the worst extremes of our country, and we won't get them back. But we have to find people of goodwill who differed with us about Trump, and try to talk and engage and see if we can't find a reasonable basis for beginning to move out of the hole we have come to. I think if anything, you'd like to think it's like someone who has a serious substance abuse problem and they just finally hit bottom before they can begin to work back up. And I hope that's where we are, but I'm not sure yet.
I hope so. I heard this, remarked in the fact that, we, on the morning that we have an African-American senator elected from Georgia, we also have the Confederate flag flying on the steps of the Capitol. And that shows where we really, in reality, where we are as Americans. And we have a long way to go and a lot of work to do.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else, Scott?
If I could, Congressman, I've talked to a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members about, what the events in that transpired at the Capitol. And, a lot of my friends are saying, if they had been Black Panthers, or if they had been, Black Lives Matter, marching, it would have been a very different story. And,
it would have been.
and I, as we are moving forward, and as we move forward from what happened January 6th, how is it that fueling or defueling the flames of, I guess, this underbelly of white supremacy that's in this country, while at the same time moving the country forward in a direction to where it's going to work for all of us, and not just for one particular group? I mean, is there any kind of insight that you have on that?
Well, as we were just talking, I think there was clearly a significant amount of racism involved here, and white entitlement, and ugly white nationalism. I guess white nationalism is always ugly. But the very attack that occurred here on the vote was really all about Black voters in major urban areas like Detroit and Atlanta. That's what they wanted to throw out. And there's so many racial dog whistles here that were being put out there by these folks, and then it just became so blatant that day. I believe that we will see in this new administration more effort at equity and at genuine, meaningful representation in key decision-making spots than we have ever had before, including during the Obama administration. And we cannot let up for 1 minute on our effort to correct racism, to begin to try to respond to it and deal with it very frankly and directly, as it has related to our police and as it is related to all of our institutions. Particularly having grown up myself in Texas, I know firsthand about this background, but so much of our history has been put off to the side. So I think there is a way to attempt to talk to family members that were deceived by Trump's daily diet of lies, but it does not. We need to try to educate them about racism as well, and it's a lot to do, and it may not be possible to do it all at once, but we have a responsibility. Certainly, as white people, we have a responsibility to respond to the hate that's out there and to the division, trying to bring ourselves back together, but without sacrificing any of these goals that lives have been given to try to achieve.
Yeah.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, Scott.
And I'm so glad we made space to talk about this today. I think it's really important. I know we have a lot to talk about with unemployment here, so we'll get right to that. But you know, it's really important that we talk about these things, what happened, and how we move forward. So thank you, Congressman, for speaking with us about that. And maybe we can all take a deep breath for a second here and start to talk about some of the good things that are on the way, I think, that you and so many other congressmen and women and senators have been working towards. Well, one final question, and this is a question that I think we wanted to ask you about that previous topic. Can you share just a real quick update on any efforts to protect democracy and ensure this peaceful transition of power? What's next for these next few weeks in that regard? And then we'll
Yeah, in the immediate future, I was a little late getting to our gathering today because I've never seen security like we have today around the Capitol. I was here on 9/11, and that's the nearest thing I can compare this to, but the security is much tighter around here than it was after 9/11. Everything is fenced off. I live in Washington, just about a block off the Capitol grounds. I had to show a pass to get to my house.
Wow.
And there are National Guard troops everywhere. At night, the helicopters are circling. I think that a maximum effort is being made to assure safety. I plan to be at the inauguration myself. And I think it's important that while this will not be the normal inauguration, that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be there being sworn in on the west front of the Capitol. The beautiful giant flags and bunting that are characteristic of the inauguration, they're on the Capitol this afternoon. No one could get close to them, but they're there and can be seen from a great distance. But I think that going through that ceremony, even though it is different, that is our message to the world that our democracy has survived and we're going to build back better, as the president says, President-elect.
Excellent. That's great to hear, Congressman. Thank you. And, you know, we have high hopes that we all have a brighter future this year. So thank you for all your hard work in that effort. So, yeah, let's shift now, if we may, to unemployment. I know there's a lot to talk about here. And Congressman, I'm going to keep you sort of in the queue here on these questions. What changes to unemployment were approved by Congress in this most recent stimulus package that was passed in December?
Right. And I expect, Pat, most of your viewers were with us on previous discussion of this. As I said last time, the bottom line is too little, too late. But there is some relief. Finally, the bill that we began working on and passed in the House back on May 15th of last year, about Christmas time, portions of it were finally approved. But they were late and they were little compared to what we had provided. On unemployment, it basically extended the unemployment assistance, the emergency assistance, until March the 14th. And we'll hear more. We have an expert, of course, from the Texas Workforce Commission with us today, but it's $300 a week in supplemental benefits. It began just after Christmas when the benefits were running out. I was concerned at the time that we might lose a week because the bill got agreed to by the president so late, but we didn't. The Workforce Commission has been working on getting those payments out. Self-employed gig workers, like so many of our musicians, can receive the pandemic unemployment assistance, and that's an additional 11 weeks of benefits. And workers who've exhausted their state benefits also get another 11 weeks of benefits. So there is some progress that was made there. It's not as much or as big as I want. We can talk about what comes next, but that is a bridge to try to help people, small as it is, perhaps combined with the direct assistance payments that came out, the relief payments of $600 for each person, allows people to hang on, and that's probably about it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, and also to complement that question, was anything done to help workers with W-2 and 1099 earnings who were disqualified from receiving pandemic unemployment assistance?
Yeah. Yes. As you know, many people, because they couldn't count the bulk of their earnings, they got stuck with the minimum benefit of $69 a week. And the bill provides a little relief for those folks, but it's not yet been fully implemented by the Workforce Commission. And perhaps we can hear more about that today. Basically, workers who have at least $5,000 a year in self-employment income from their gigs, but are disqualified from receiving the pandemic unemployment assistance because they are eligible for regular state unemployment, they will receive an additional $100 per week until March the 14th. That's assistance added on top of the $300 supplemental allotment, meaning that people that qualify for that will get $400 in weekly supplemental assistance.
Very good. And now, for gig workers receiving the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, those expired the week of December 26th.
Right.
Will those workers lose any weeks of unemployment benefits?
I was really concerned that they would, and Velissa can comment on it greater length, but I think TWC has worked out things so that they will not lose any time.
Oh, that's excellent.
I hope that's the case.
Wonderful. Good to hear. Let's ask this now. The recent federal legislation, did that include any funding for music venues, and how can venues apply for those?
It did, and Pat and Scott and I guess Nakia is off this afternoon, but to everyone with your group, y'all did a fantastic job with the city of Austin, and I know that money is beginning to flow. And I hope we will see the federal money flow soon. What we were working on was essentially called Save Our Stages. And $15 billion was included through the Small Business Administration for grants of up to $10 million to live venues, to independent movie theaters, and cultural institutions. That's a lot of money, but that's a lot of institutions. Right there in Austin, what you struggled for to get money that sounded, it was millions, but by the time you spread it around, it's only a little. So we are going to be competing with various theaters from Broadway to San Francisco. And I've been after the Small Business Administration to try and get more details about what they're going to ask, what they're going to cover. It's supposed to cover everything from payroll, like the payroll program last year, to cover rent, utilities, personal protective equipment, that sort of thing.
Wonderful.
And there is one good provision that may help us, and that is that there is a set aside for smaller operations that have 50 employees or less, which would probably cover most of our music venues. And so there's $2 billion just for that. But again, that's for the whole country. So I hope that we will have the details from the Small Business Administration in the course of the next couple of weeks. Excellent. You can always go to their website, but our office will be getting out information the minute that we hear from them.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear, and just to I think we distribute the $5 million in Saves Resolution funding added with the Save Our Stages money coming down from the federal government. We hope paint a prettier picture for venues and for the whole live music economy. Once we get past this thing. So again, just thank you for the work you guys did in getting that Save Our Stages Act pushed through. One more question. We have another unemployment expiration date coming up in mid-March. Do you think there will be any additional relief coming for unemployment?
Well, I'm sure some of your listeners heard about President-elect Biden's speech last night and commentary on it today. I was very encouraged by it. For one thing, just listening to him and the detail in which he went, and the empathy, the understanding of the pain and the struggle that so many small businesses and so many families are going through right now, was truly in itself a whole new approach. So he announced a support and will be urging Congress to move forward on another COVID relief bill. And it would include, as he's proposed it, $400 per week in unemployment assistance, extending until into September of this year. So extending it again. And there are many other provisions, including direct relief payments, school assistance, a wide range of things. There's no doubt that that bill, as he proposed it, is not the way it will finally come out of the congressional process. And whether you agree with every aspect of it or not, it is a step in the right direction. He's trying to build bipartisan support for it. I think without some of the pressure with the change in administrations that we can get some of that bipartisan support, because clearly, as your group indicates, it's not political philosophy that's determining whether someone gets to go out and play a gig or whether a venue is open. It is this pandemic, and getting a lot of the focus as well of his bill is on vaccine distribution. I know there are so many anxious people in our area who keep calling HEB or wondering when they can call HEB or another source and are not getting the information they need because we don't have the vaccine supply. So that, as a health subcommittee chairman myself, that's one of the areas that I'm really interested in. But in short, there is hope that we can pass additional extension of the pandemic unemployment assistance, and that it might last as long as to September, hoping that by then the vaccines are out there, they're taking effect, and we're back listening to live music again.
Absolutely. And we'll continue talking to your office about that effort, because I'm now hearing that there is a local effort specifically to try to get the vaccine available to more musicians. So we should
musicians, and the cost. This goes back to some of what we were talking about earlier. We had such serious healthcare disparities, particularly people of color, poor people of all races and ethnicities being left out. A lot of the focus, I'm glad President Biden has a health equity task force that's focused on trying to see that the people who have been suffering the most are able to get this vaccine. And that's a really important aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Congressman, I want to say how grateful we are that you take so much time out of obviously the most busy work schedule you've ever had, probably, to talk directly to our music community and to help us in every way possible. I often like to refer to the fact that we have our Austin, Texas musicians DC Bureau up there with you and Sarah and the guys. So we're really, really grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much. And especially if you have any new listeners, I hope they'll go to our website, sign up to subscribe to our updates. We will try to keep people advised in between your broadcasts of what's happening, and wish for everyone safety and health, access to this vaccine as soon as possible, and keep me advised of what they're hearing out there, the problems they're having, and how I can keep trying to make priorities of our home folks my priorities here in Washington. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you so much, Congressman. And you are welcome to hang out in the room with us while we talk to Velissa.
But then may have to sign off for another activity.
I figured you probably have a few things going on today. So we are very grateful once again to have you here. And we'll be talking to you guys real soon. Obviously, we have a lot to work on together this year. So thank you. Take care. And now we'll bring in Velissa. Let me just take a moment to tell our audience, there's a lot of heroes in the community, and some of them get a lot of praise and credit, and then some of them just bear down and do the work, and they don't really ever get any recognition at all. So today, I want to take a moment to thank you specifically for everything you have done for our music community. I don't know that everybody knows, so I'm going to tell them right now. There are dozens upon dozens, and I don't know if you've been keeping a tally, Velissa, but so many musicians in our community who needed to get connected to unemployment benefits and who are having trouble getting through because obviously TWC is completely backlogged. And I kind of slide them your contact and your name. And I know I've hit you with, I can't even imagine, dozens of these musicians, probably 100 or more at this point. And every time you're like, yep, bring them on my way. And every time I hear back from these musicians who say, thank you, Velissa helped me to get the benefits that I needed without fail. And so I just can't say enough good things about you. Thank you for that work.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really, truly an honor to be here today and to give people information. My father's a musician, and to me, musicians are so important to keeping people happy and fulfilled, and music really is everything. And I was just, side note, watching on Netflix with Fran Lebowitz. There's a new show on there, and she had a great line where she talked about music is the one addiction that's really good for you. You know, lots of addictions are bad, but music is a great thing. It doesn't hurt anybody. It can transport you back to a time that you've forgotten about. It enriches the life in so many ways. So the fact that I can be a part of this in any way and help musicians at least to keep them stable to a point so they can continue creating, that's a huge thing for me. So I'm just glad that I could be a part of it.
It's a huge thing for us too, and obviously, in the fact that you've helped so many of our musicians this past year. So thank you. Scott, I want to engage you now because I know that specifically you've been working with Velissa a lot this last year. Can you tell us a little bit, just from your own experience, what's it been like to navigate, sort of this world of pandemic unemployment assistance, and how has TWC been able to help in that process?
It's been a little tricky to navigate. It's definitely, I know that when the unemployment benefits were going to expire, I believe it was December 26th, President Trump still hadn't actually signed, the bill to extend, the budget reconciliation or the stimulus or any of those things at all. And so I think December 26th was a day that a lot of people, including myself, were extremely stressed out. But it worked out. It got signed, and it's been good. My dealings with the TWC have been absolutely incredible, and also, with and working hand in hand with Velissa. I mean, I don't know. I seriously do not know how I would have gotten through any of 2020 without you, Velissa. So I mean, and I do not say that lightly. I do not. That is not hyperbole. I should be shouting it from the rooftops, holding a boombox or something, because what you do is absolutely amazing, and I truly mean that. There have been so many people that have reached out to me, and I send them your way, and you just you take care of them, and a lot of people were able to get back pay, or a few people that we talked with were able to get back pay from March. And it was like during Christmas time, and so they were able to actually have a Christmas this year because of you. They were able to do that in 2020. So seriously, it's invaluable the work that you do, and it's invaluable the work that you've done for me and for my friends and others as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Scott. That means a lot.
Seriously,
Yeah,
I mean, I think about you daily, so just please know that. I do. I really do. I'm like, man, Velissa's awesome. She's so awesome. Every time I get that unemployment, I'm like, yes, she's awesome.
it's true.
I'll take it.
Scott, I think, yeah, and I know, Scott, we have quite a few questions for Velissa today, so why don't you kind of dig into those, Velissa, and maybe we can,
So this kind of goes to, I guess, you know, with these new benefits start rolling in, do the workers do workers need to reapply to get these benefits, or is this just going to be a constant thing that's going to keep rolling?
It should just be a constant thing that keeps rolling. They shouldn't have to reapply. If you have an existing claim, you really don't need to take any further action. TWC should automatically update your claim and inform you of ineligibility. And side note, all the information I'm about to share, I'm not speaking on behalf of TWC, but I have been speaking with people who are heavily involved with this and getting the most up-to-date information. So that's what I'm sharing. And from what I know, you don't need to reapply. It should be automatic. So continue requesting benefits every 2 weeks. Give the system time to convert. And there's really no need to call or reapply if that's the case. For those of you who cannot request payment because you exhausted your claim payments in advance of the December 26th deadline, TWC should be sending updated information.
Excellent. And have any of these benefits, Velissa? I guess I guess we're talking about the $300 additional benefit. Has that gone out yet? Has that been dispersed yet? Is that federal money gone into TWC accounts to be distributed?
Yeah. So some of the payments have started rolling out.
Okay.
So as the Congressman was saying, it's kind of two different ones. You have the FPUC, which is the $300, and then you have the MEUC, the mixed earner, that's $100. So the $300 in FCUP is paying. TWC started paying out those benefits on January 4th, and about $44 million have already been paid out of the $300 thus far. But unemployment staff is still converting people over. So hopefully, the hope is, no guarantees, but the hope is that everyone who qualifies will be converted over by the end of January. By the end of the month is the hope. Thousands of people are being converted daily, but of course, people are still calling because they haven't been converted. Unfortunately, it's not one master button. I wish it were. It's just more complicated than that, but they really are converting thousands of people every day. So sometimes the hardest thing is to just be patient and wait. And I think for a lot of people, that's really just going to be the case. As far as the FPUC 300, the $100 of the mixed earner unemployment compensation, and again, that MEUC money, that's only for folks who are primarily creatives and have primarily 1099 income, but they qualified for regular W-2 unemployment. That additional $100 has not yet been rolled out yet. The TWC Unemployment Insurance Division doesn't have a time limit on that yet. They're going as fast as they can to figure everything out, but they don't have a time, I guess they don't have a deadline to share yet for programming or paying out that 100. That would be a smaller group in general. So hopefully when that's all rolling, it'll be a little bit easier or a lot easier on the system because less folks would qualify for that. And then of course, with that comes the $5,000 verifiable self-employment wage. So side note for those of you who could qualify for the MEUC, it's going to be the kind of thing where TWC should be reaching out to request that information or to let you know that you could be eligible and what you need to do to get it.
Gotcha. Okay. And if someone is falling through the cracks or, you know, I don't know, if they're not converted over to the FEUC or something like that, is there a contact or, you know, a way that they can, you know, mitigate that?
Yeah, so there's several offices that you can call for that. But as you know, I like to help people personally and get them to where they need to go. So what folks can do is if they need assistance is email our office, which would be employerinfo@TWC at twc.state.tx.us. Again, employer info at twc.state.tx.us. You can email us, and we're the attorneys in the employer commissioner's office, so we can't solve it, but we can get it to the right people to have someone call you and address your issues. So if you do email that address, give us your name, the last 4 digits of your social, if you're comfortable, your contact number, and a brief description of what the issue is, so that we can forward that to the right people and have them call you.
Gotcha. Okay. And I believe this is, no, I've got a few more here, but the unemployment assistance required to, now, and it's been for a while now, we have to actually do work search requirements. I believe it's like 3 work search requirements a week or something like that. If you are a musician, an artist, other gig workers, what can we do to kind of fulfill that work search requirement?
Sure, it's a little bit trickier because it's, you're not searching for your standard, W-2 employment job. So there are some steps that TWC recommends that you can take to reopen your business. So if you're a gig worker, sole proprietor, an artist, a creative, 1099, independent contractor, number one, you definitely want to keep a log for yourself, how many hours you're spending per week doing the following things. And then keep whatever proof you can about it for your records. So in case there are questions, you can be really clear. But there are some examples on the TWC website, what you can do. And it really comes down to steps that someone would take to, reopen their business. So letting your customers or clients know that you're reopening, posting on social media, Twitter, Facebook, what have you, that counts. Contacting past customers or clients, reaching out to potential clients, advertising, passing out business cards and flyers, even making sure that your required licenses or permits are current and renewing those, that counts, or obtaining those requirements or permits. If you're looking at a contract or a gig, reviewing the contract, researching new contracts, preparing a bid, submitting the bid, researching and preparing for the contract, all of that time counts towards the work search, reopening your business, even checking your inventory. A lot of folks have their own sole proprietor businesses, hairstylists, for example, doing a check on your inventory, even enrolling in training to expand your skills can count. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And again, that's on the TW website if people do have more questions. And also remember, you want to log how much time you're spending on all these things and keep that information so that when you do your payment requests, you have that info ready and can just fill it out and get going.
Right. Okay. And is that the workforce solutions part of it? Is that what we're logging into to put that stuff to fulfill those requirements, or is it somewhere different?
It should be part of your payment request, from what I understand. Every 2 weeks,
okay, right.
You're supposed to be reporting the standard stuff and requesting payment.
Right.
My understanding is that it sort of auto asks you questions depending on what you're enrolled for. And so that should be the opportunity for you to kind of explain what you're doing and everything. And again, if you have issues, I spoke to someone yesterday who wanted to know some specifics that I couldn't answer. They wanted to know, hey, well, what if I reach out to the same potential client every other week? Does that count? What if, I don't know, since I'm not an investigator, and it may depend, but those are the kinds of nitty-gritty questions that I can take from you and send to the right people to give you an answer. In general, my understanding is that these requirements or the steps are supposed to be broad to make it easier for folks to meet those requirements.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And let me see here. Okay, I think that's good there. Yeah, we already talked about that. Okay, and okay, the additional $100 a week for MEUC, only applying going forward. Oh, that's right. So, will the $100 MEUC is that going to be retroactively, paid out once the fees get mitigated? Okay.
Yeah, I think it should be. My understanding is that anyone who's eligible for PEUC or MEUC should have their benefits backdated to the week ending January 2nd. So basically the last week of December, it should be once approved. Of course, MEUC is not yet approved, but that's from what I've been told.
Okay, gotcha. And the $300 again, just as a reminder for me and everyone else that's on unemployment, that federal money expires March. When does that expire?
14th.
March 14th. Okay.
Yes.
Got
Yeah,
it.
both the MEUC of 100 and the FPUC of 300 expire March 14th. And I agree with Congressman Doggett. Most analysts are generally in agreement that the incoming administration will act quickly to pass new comprehensive UI assistance and other stimulus programs, or at least they're promising that, and all the pieces are in place to allow that to happen. So I personally am optimistic that they may extend it, especially considering President-elect Joe Biden's comments yesterday.
Gotcha. Excellent. Yeah, well, I mean, I think that this is, there's so much happening. It's happening at a lightning pace. It's happening so fast. And you're always on top of it, Velissa. I don't know. I thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything that I missed. Did I cover everything? Am I good? Did we talk about everything?
I think you covered pretty much. Yeah, I think, sorry, I keep interrupting. I think there's a lag.
That's okay.
I think we covered everything. I will point out one last thing for the MEUC of the 100. People want to know, is it for sure a go? What's the deal? I'm not sure, but when I was reading the actual law, I know that if and when that's approved, Texas would be required to notify claimants of their potential eligibility for MEUC. It might be mass communication, it might be individually, it might be both, but that's the general idea too. So for those who were thinking, well, I haven't heard anything, worry not. If you filed a claim and you're still out there trying to file for benefits every 2 weeks, the agency is trying to make this as easy as possible and reach out to you so that you know what next steps to take.
Gotcha. Excellent. And you guys have been absolutely, I mean, as far as I know, you've been on top of it.
I don't know how, but we're
great.
making it work. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you so much, Velissa.
This has been great. Thank you. I think we got some really valuable information here today. And now it's beer 30. That's right. No, I'm kidding. I don't actually drink. It just feels like it's been a hard week already. And we've all, been working really hard. And, I just wanted to take a moment to say that, throughout this past year, it's been the most challenging year, certainly, that I think any of us have ever experienced. But, we find people in the community like Velissa and like you, Scott, who just make all the difference in the world. And so, this was maybe one of the worst years on record, but also in some ways, one of the best, because I feel like we find all the people in the tribe who are helping and who are doing all the hard work. And so I'm so just inspired, to keep doing this work with you guys.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, it's not like a switch, right? We're not going to just turn off, 2020 and then all of a sudden things are going to be, the yellow brick road or whatever. That's not going to happen. And there's a lot of inertia from 2020 that's moving over into 2021. But I think as long as we're here, as long as we keep fighting the good fight and we stay vigilant, I think we'll make it out of this.
Yeah, I think so too. Any closing thoughts today, guys? Just about, not just about unemployment, but about, what's ahead for this year and what we hope to do together this year.
I'll start. I really just wanted to say meeting the both of you has been something great that's happened to me. With everything that horrible and bad that's happening, I really do think it's important to focus on the good things too, because at the end of the day, we all, whether we're crawling or we're walking or we're running, we need to keep moving forward. And if we can continue supporting each other and appreciating the good that can come out of things, that'll give us fuel to keep going. Because I don't think that just because we're in a new year, everything's going to be better. We all, things are going to happen, and we really have to just try our best to be there for one another, check in with one another, support each other how we can. So as far as things we're grateful for, I'm grateful for meeting the both of you. It really has been a positive in my life. So focusing on the good, I think, is the important thing to try to do this year, even though I know it can be really hard to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. How about you, Scott?
For me, I have 2 words for this year: cautious optimism. That's where I'm at right now.
Saying that same phrase, I really do.
Yeah. I'm watching the ice beneath my feet constantly. So yeah, that's it. I am cautiously optimistic about everything right now. So
well, yeah, Velissa, I know you pretty well at this point. I don't know a lot about your personal life, but I know that, Scott and I, on top of everything else, we both had, some pretty serious personal challenges this last year to overcome. And I like to think that these things merely sculpt us, into becoming the warriors that we need to be for our community. I know it sounds cheesy, but I really, really do believe that. And I believe that we're all here together for this purpose, to help and to serve. So I'm just really, truly honored to be here with you guys doing this work. And to everyone out there watching today, I'm honored to serve alongside all of you. I know we have a lot of musicians out there who are, doing all sorts of amazing things in the community. And so, if there's a silver lining to a pandemic, it's the fact that everybody showed up to help. And that really inspires me to no end. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Any other thoughts before we close and get on with our weekends, hopefully, if that's possible?
There's so much love in this room right now. I love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's been great.
Well, I love you guys, and thank you for everything you do. And I know we'll have a lot more to talk about real soon as these unemployment benefits start rolling out. So let's continue this conversation, shall we?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, my friends, and everyone. Have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
All right.